Hey, what's up, guys? And this is something brand new I got pretty recently, not so long ago. So don't worry if your ideas were given, it's on the chopping block, guys, to be done very soon. I got this interesting premise where biological genes can be changed in special ways, starting from the parents. So this one will be, what if Minato and Kushina had godlike genes? Separate, but when it comes together, it creates something extraordinary, guys. A story where we dive deeper into the lore of chakra and the understanding to change the fundamentalities of what the Naruto world is. Stronger, more powerful, as we dive into the lords of lords, the gods that reign as supreme, the leaders of the Yosuke, monsters that dwell beyond the shinobi walls. Let us see, in a world where the enemies have to grow stronger to face the heroes, how far will they go, and what kind of enemies will arrive? Terrifying and dreadful beyond proper comprehension. Well, let us not waste any more time. Let us jump right into this brand new episode. Let's begin now, guys. There was something that Minato Namikaze had learned about becoming a father. It was terrifying. Not because he was good at it. He loved his children more than anything. He loved them. He loved his family. There was no doubt about that. But his children weren't exactly normal. And he had known that the moment they were brought into this world. For reference, today was a very special day. It was Kushina's birthday. She was off with the other two. As Minato stood at the stove, you could smell it in the air. The place smelled sweet. For a man that has been through countless chaotic situations, for a man that has been on the front line of death and destruction, it was rather funny that these little things could make him nervous. For a man that could teleport across a distance in a fraction of a second, you would think that timing was pretty perfect for him. Yet he tended to burn things a lot. At the moment he was focused, serious, like he was defusing a bomb. Because in his way he was. Kushina's birthday dinner had to be perfect. She was out with two of the kids right now, being kept busy by a perfect arranged surprise. That left him with one little helper. Small hands reached onto the counter. As he poked his head up, his name was Naruto, 4 years old, a round face, blonde hair like his father. It went in almost every direction. It did not matter what Kushina did to it, it just would not straighten. As he reached up and put his little chin on the counter, he watched his father work. The man seemed to be extremely focused. "Dad," Naruto said seriously, "is it gonna taste good?" "It's going to taste amazing," said Minato. "You said that the last time," Naruto said. "Last time was different." "You burned it the last time," Naruto said. Minato poked his son on the nose. "I did not burn it, it was caramelized," he said to his son. Naruto squinted. "But Mom said it tasted like a campfire." Minato opened his mouth and closed it back as he turned towards the stove. As he then proceeded to reach above the cabinet as he started to search for something. His hands moving a bit too fast as he knocked something over, not even noticing as he found what he was looking for at the back. What fell was a black pepper as it hit the counter. Immediately, the small child drew it in. "Minato, could hear it as it hit the counter. Time seemed to slow down as Minato. His eyes had registered what fall, but so focused on what he was doing he didn't even catch it. But he realized that it was a black pepper. As the cloud of spices reached the child's nose, Minato heard it. The sound like someone was going to sneeze. The color immediately drained from his face. "No," he said. He moved in a flash. He grabbed Naruto off the counter. He proceeded to kick open the back door. Fearing that it would be worse, he teleported away. A moment later, they arrived in the forest. To the sound of Naruto saying "achoo," he sneezed. Now you might be wondering what was wrong with that child sneezing. Well, once more, his children weren't exactly normal. The sound was not even loud. That was the worst part. It was just a small sneeze from a 4-year-old boy. But what followed was a violent gust. It was like a wall of force. It did not just bend them, it ripped them out of the earth, the trees that is. The barks tearing and they were massive. The ground was gouged open in a massive jagged line, ripping deep into the forest area. It was like an explosion of a S-rank wing technique had gone off. Tremendous and powerful. Silence then filled the area as Naruto sniffled, rubbing his nose. His father was holding him under his arms. He looked up towards his father. "Sorry, Dad," he said. Minato looked down towards his son, looking at the forest that looked like a war zone had happened. "It's okay," he said in a calm tone. As he's been seeing things like this for some time now. Let's just go back. That was just a normal Tuesday for them. Yes, it was. In the past years, the Namikaze household had been reinforced at least 4 to 5 times. Minato had personally etched ceiling formulas into the walls, the floors, and the support beams. He had hired 2 of the best engineers to look at the house structure. But the more time it went on, and the more they grew, it kept on not being enough. One afternoon, Naruto was walking and slipped on something. He didn't just stop though. He blasted right through the wall, leaving a perfect imprint of himself. "I'm okay," he said from the outside. Minato looked through the hole. "Maybe we should reinforce the walls with stone next time," he said. Kushina appeared behind him, as she looked through as well. "We did, using stones," she said to him. "Thicker stones then," he responded. The next time it was Mito. The girl was the most composed of the 3 of them. She was graceful, she was quiet. She liked pretty things. Flowers, ribbons, the way the sunlight moved through the trees. She carried herself as if she already knew that she was something special, which she was. Her hair was a bit brighter than her mother's when it come to the same color. Due to her father here, it seemed like he gave it a bit more brighter edge. But just like the other 2, she wasn't immune to accidents. She was carrying a ceramic bowl, moving it towards the other table. She got distracted as something seemed to pop into her mind. She ended up trying to toss it towards the table because, as she believed, she was close enough and it would be fine. Unfortunately though, the distraction kept her mind from properly regulating her own strength. As it did not go on the table though, what it did do was blast through the table, and then the other table, and then went through the window and went somewhere behind the house. "I'll fix it," she said. Kushina looked towards her. "We need stronger windows," she said, as she wasn't talking to her though. Then there was Menma. He was similar to Mito with his calm exterior, but a bit more watchful. Yes, that word suited him rather well. And out of all 3 of them, you would expect him to have the best control out of them all, which made it even more funnier when he forgot. He was outside, doing what kids do. He was jumping, just testing to see how far he can go. And then he jumped for real. The ground beneath him exploded. The next moment he found himself gazing over the village until gravity came into play and he was pulled back down. He landed perfectly on his feet though. However, it wasn't so good for the surrounding area. Minato came outside. Menma, I was jumping. I know. I didn't jump that hard. I know. The ground is weak. Menma. He paused for a moment. I'm sorry, he said, scratching the side of his cheek. We're going to increase practicing control tomorrow, said Minato. We practice every day. Then we will practice more, said Minato. Kushina had gotten used to it, as she sat by the window with a cup of tea, barely even reacting. They were chaos. They were destruction wrapped into the body of small innocent faces. They were going to make her go grey before she was even 35. Yet she wouldn't trade it for anything else in the world. Time skip. Forest of Death. Now 6 years old, the three children had ventured off into a special area that they shouldn't be. Their control had improved a lot. They understand their strength more. Minato and Kushina had worked with them almost every single day, teaching them how to be more careful, speak softly, hold back. Most of the time it worked. Most of the time, that is. They had saw the warnings. Danger. Authorization personnel only. Yet they had jumped over. They had simply jumped over. We now find Mito as she sat on a rather large boulder. She didn't want to dirty her pretty dress, but she enjoyed going on small adventures with her brothers. But she had warned them that she would not get her dress dirty. She would simply sit here and watch. Then the ground in front of her a few feet away exploded upwards. A centipede. It had exploded out of the ground. Its thick, powerful armor body, specially grown by this special forest, where the animals had fed off the chakra around them, because this forest was not normal. This forest was created this way by the first Hokage, and it mutated the animals, making them far, far larger than what they were supposed to be. But this creature was one of the forest's largest. Even adults took this seriously. And yet Naruto was on top of it, riding it. Both arms were holding onto the armor plate, as he laughed as it tried to throw him off. Menma, it's so fast, he said. At the other end of the clearing, Menma slammed his feet into the ground as it was ripped apart. Finally though, he got a good foot in as he stopped the centipede by, holding it by the base. I think we should let it go, he said calmly. Not yet. It's so cool, said Naruto. Hey Mito, he called out. Isn't it cool? Mito looked up and rolled her eyes, finding his, whole thing childish. And that seemed to upset Naruto. The next moment though, she saw the shadow as she looked up. The centipede was now charging towards her because Naruto had pushed it in her direction. She leaped into the air as it crashed into the stone. She was high above it though. She saw Naruto standing on one of the branches and he was laughing. No hesitation. She flew straight forward and crashed into him. Menma had released a centipede. It ran for its life, running away from these crazy children. Mito had crashed Naruto into the ground, causing a mess. Menma stood there watching the both of them wrestling in the ground. He looked at the broken boulder, what was left of it. He thought for maybe 2 seconds as he reached and dig it out of the ground, and then he proceeded to throw it at the both of them. Mito looked up as she turned. She caught it with both of her hands, moving back only slightly. When Naruto pulled himself up, she hit him with it at full force. It exploded into chunks. He went sailing through the trees, disappearing into the darkness of the forest. As Mito dusted her hands off, when the ground in front of her suddenly exploded as Naruto had dug himself from his location, moving insanely fast underground. He grabbed her ankle and threw her into the sky. As Menma came crashing down on Naruto's shoulders, causing the ground to erupt. All three of them were laughing. They were committing mass destruction all around them, and they were laughing. By the end of it, they dropped on the ground. "Mito," Naruto said, "your dress." She looked down. She finally started to realize that her dress was dirty, despite all of that. Menma, though, knew that Naruto made a big mistake. He shouldn't have said that, because in her eyes, he started all of this, and she didn't want to get her dress dirty. "I think you should run," Menma whispered to him. "Why would I?" He could feel the dreadful situation turning almost immediately. And he ran. She went after him, hurling trees or whatever she could find. However, Menma felt something wrong. "This feeling," he said. A chilling sensation went down his spine. "Menma! Mito! Naruto!" The voice of their father called out immediately. They all arrived front and center. Minato Namikaze stared at the forest of death with his eye twitching. They all stood in front of him in a perfect line. He was upset. However, it was not what Menma had sensed. Something worse. Even Minato felt the chill. Even Minato swallowed heavily as Kushina Uzumaki arrived, her hair floating, her eyes white. "So," she said, "this is what you three have been up to, causing all of this destruction after we told you not to come into this area when you asked us about it." All three children swallowed. They looked at each other, thinking about what they should do. "Maybe we should run," Menma whispered. "Are you an idiot? Eventually we will get caught and it will be worse," Mito said. "Oh, I know what to do," said Naruto. "It wasn't my idea. They were the ones that wanted to come here." He pointed towards the both of them, which led to each other blaming each other until, "Shut up," Kushina said. "Let me make it clear. You're all getting punished." As all of them swallowed heavily. Time skip. There was only a handful of people in the world that knew the truth about them, only a small amount. There was a doctor named Hiroshi, along with three of his best medical staff. You see, in the human body, chakra flow, that was just normal. Physical energies from the cell, spiritual energy from the mind. The two combining, moving through their pathways, called tenkatsus. Almost every ninja in the world operated on this same system. But these three, you see, Minato and Menma genes, dating back when tested, seem to operate on a very special level. Alone, it was common. Alone, it was normal. But when combined, it produced something strange. Something that only should happen in one of maybe a billion, or less, a million. But it was just truly unnatural. You see, in the children, the chakra did not just flow through their bodies. It seeped into them. Every cell, every muscle, bone, blood. Due to their chakra not going out normally, it keep on flowing into them, which in most cases should end up with death, yes. Because the human body was not meant to operate that way. But for these children, from the moment they were born, it was confusing. That was the best way to describe it. And also immaculate. Going back to Minato and Kushina's special genes, that seemed to be the component that most people would be missing if they had this affliction, which grant the children special operating rights in a way that should not exist. Over the years, the chakra kept on leaking, and it leaked within their cells. And rather than just flat out deny it and start to break down, their cells started to adapt, to absorb it, to change, which should have caused a massive discomfort or change in biology in them. But when Dr. Hiroshi saw it, For a day straight, he went back to every book, he went back to every structure of the human form, trying to understand their cells. They're producing chakra themselves, each one individually. The doctor had looked up towards Minato with a shock, yet confusing look on his face. Their bodies aren't using chakra to power their cells. The adaptation of their cells have become chakra. Every single one of them is generating chakra, and that strengthens the cells, and they keep on generate, which strengthen them again. It was a perfect loop, a perfect circle, which came from the special components that Minato and Kushina possess, which made the children perfect. Minato realized it with a shocked look on his face. And it doesn't stop, he said. No, Hiroshi had said. It doesn't stop. Not when they sleep. Not when they're still. Their bodies are continuously producing power. It is a loop that continuously feeds itself. And over time, as the cells grow stronger, more efficient, he had trailed off and looked at the 3 tiny babies. They will keep on growing, said Minato, finishing for him. Without a ceiling, Hiroshi said. I don't know where this ends. I've never seen anything like this before in my entire years of being alive, he said. And that is why they were so special. That is why they were so great. When Jiraiya had came to the village after, they were born. It was a lot to unpack. So much. The night that they were born on its own was very unusual and very eye-opening as well to the threats that lie behind the walls. Powerful threats. You see, on that night, it had been chaos. Even before that, learning that she was gonna have 3 children, it terrified her for multiple reasons and also excited her. Both Minato and Kushina lost their family when they were young, so yes, they were looking forward to becoming a big happy family. The 9-tailed chakra started to overwhelm the weakened seal, but Minato was there. They were outside the village, making sure that they were keeping everything safe. As the process was painful for her, Minato was trying his best to make her feel comfortable, but it was 3 children. When they were brought into the world, she was exhausted, crying. Minato looked towards them and his wife, telling her that everything was okay now. But that goodness never lasts for long. Someone arrived, a pressure like hot stepping into cold. A man with a spiral mask. He had grabbed baby Naruto. He held the baby with a kunai, threatening to kill him. Minato was staggered, not wanting to put his child in danger, not wanting to put anyone here in danger. This man had get past every one of their security, proving that he was a dangerous force. Please, calm down, Minato said. Those words awoke in the children. Naruto was the first one to start to cry, followed by the other 2. Their crying worked in perfect synchrony. Minato felt it before he understood it. The ears started to move. The pressure started to build. The nurses that were in the room. Kushina, though, wasn't focusing on any of that. She was focusing on her children. She called out Minato's name, but Minato could immediately understood that whatever was gonna happen, it wasn't that man, it was his children. And he could see it, he could feel it. Even the masked man was confused and also frightened behind that mask. Minato placed a hand on Kushina and the nurse next to him. They were teleported outside. It was a good thing that he did that. It wasn't fire. It was just a raw, monstrous explosion of power that destroyed the entire cabin area and the landscape around it. causing a massive sinkhole. Every animal within the surrounding forest fled, the shockwave tearing through a violent, terrifying gust of wind. Minato. He looked towards the era with a shock. Look on his face, Kushina was mortified, trying to pull herself up. The look in her eyes, he understood immediately. Charging a nurse to make sure his wife was okay, he moved in. Minato moved as fast as he possibly could and arrived, holding his breath, fearing the worst, but there they lie. Naruto was a distance away from them, but the three children lie on the ground, completely unharmed despite the wreckage, the burned ground, the soil, everything blackened, but there they were. It was from that moment Minato knew that they were special. When Jiraiya arrived back to the village, he was delighted to hear that they were all safe. But they knew that there was a threat out there with a man wearing a mask. Minato had the place thoroughly searched. He escaped. Not okay though. They found smudges of his blood, but no sign to show that his body was completely destroyed. There would have been more signs that meant he escaped. As he came, he left. The three children, though, from that moment, Minato knew that they were special. Unusual. Very, very unusual. Jiraiya had wondered to himself about the prophecy that he was told a long time ago by the toads. But there was three of them. Maybe the prophecy was missing a few parts. Time skip. The Sand Village was also a venture that the team had ventured towards. The team being Minato and his children, that is. The sand was weak when it comes to the sealing art, due to the way that Gaara's seal was created, and the amount of expertise it was needed to apply a better seal. It was an offer to strengthen alliance between them, to show that even with the years to come they will stand strong together. And Minato showed that by bringing the kids. It happened when they were 6 years old. He wanted to introduce them, knowing that their future was filled with a lot of these political gatherings. A lot of, well, speaking with important public figures. This was just a start of it all. Yes, Raza was introduced to them all. And they were also introduced to the others. Temari and Kankuro. Gaara's seal needed help. It wasn't long ago that a large number of Sand Shinobis died due to his seal going haywire with the power of the Tanuki starting to take influence. They were introduced to the Namikaze children. There were three of them just like them. However, the last one, he was different. Temari and Mito got along rather well. A compliment there, a compliment here. I like your hair, I like your sharp eyes. Kankuro got along well with Menma. Before they knew it though, Naruto was nowhere to be seen. He was already on his way. Gaara was in the sandy location. He sat in a sandbox, alone, everyone giving him a wide berth. Gaara expected to be alone, coming to understand that that was how life was going to be for him. However, what he didn't expect was to see a blonde-haired individual arrive out of nowhere. Gaara has never seen this person before. The problem was whenever anything was too close to Gaara, it tended to cause a problem. And Naruto, having seen the photo of the three children that was discarded to the back of the other photos, had went out searching, as the children were trying to get along together while their fathers discussed what was going on. The sand ninjas that were watching, that were charged to keep all of them safe, was embarrassed because they lost the child. One moment he was there, the next he just took off and he somehow outran them. Naruto snuck up on Gaara and shouted "Boo!" which was a problem. The sand lashed out and tried to squeeze. It squeezed Naruto around the waist, Naruto felt the pressure and tore it off. Yes, he tore it off, literally ripping the sand down, which should be not possible due to the structure of it. But the amount of pressure that was applied almost solidified the entire sand body. "That's so cool," he said. Gaara's eyes widened. You're not afraid?" Naruto was confused. "Why should I be?" The sand rose again, faster this time. As Naruto found it intriguing, Gaara felt something that he hasn't felt. It was a sensation that he didn't know how to properly pronounce. He's always been the problem, and yet, I just want to say hi. I saw you in that photo, you're one of them, right? There's 3 of you, just like how there's 3 of us. Why are you alone? I'm always alone. Naruto pat him on the shoulder. Actually making contact, you could see the people around were actually stunned when the sand did not react. Menma and Mito found Naruto, followed by the siblings. They were stunned as they saw this person not only talking but playing with Gaara. As he pointed and Gaara's sand lashed out and root up the ground, Naruto pointed once again, and it happened once again. Both Conqueror and Temari were truly confused. That evening, it was a phenomenal change as Gaara slept, something that he couldn't really do due to the fact that the Tanuki was trying to take over whenever he tried to sleep peacefully. But things changed that day. Temari had came to thank Naruto for playing with her brother. They did not hate him. Their father might have problems with him due to the loss of his wife. But Naruto showed them that things didn't have to be that way. In the process, Menma complimented Temari's eyes. It was just a child's comment, something a child would say. "You have really pretty eyes," he said, liking her eyes. Temari stared at him and turned, her face turning red. Whatever, she said, trying to blow right past it. But it wasn't a moment that she was going to forget. It was from that moment they became good friends with the Sand Ninjas. As the time passed by, things were growing tense behind the scenes though. Minato has done a lot for the village, but not for everyone. You had the scum of the village. He said that he was only doing what was necessary, but certain actions were certainly too far. Like this, for example. Danzo Shamura. He lost a lot of power when Minato took over. Hiruzen was now retired, sometimes serving as Minato counsel but mostly enjoying his life. Danzo would not allow that though for his life. He believed that he should continue to work, maybe even while he's dead. But the children were the key. Danzo found out not too long ago that they were special. How so he did not know. Perhaps some special bloodline or something. The secrecy, not to mention wherever they go or play. The place was always severely destroyed and Minato tried to cover it up. Minato's secret had been kept very closely. Not even majority of the council members knew about this. That is how close it was. Once, Danzo had sent a few root operatives to watch them. When the girl had noticed, not only did she just look in their direction, she called out who was there. Upon receiving that report, Danzo believed she was a censor, but they were only 4 years old. Danzo found it strange. It made him believe that there was much more to their, situation than he thought. Danzo wanted to test this. This test was going to provide several things. This test might prove that they were important and he could use that, especially due to their powers, or it might, end up having them being taken away. And he could also use that to put fear in Minato. If he recovered them, and if he was unable, he could use it to make Minato even more afraid. To make him see that the world did not need peace, it needed domination. So Danzo went along with his plan, very careful, very prepared, to make sure that his name would never be called in any of this, to make sure that no one would know that he was involved. So Danzo started a plot and tracked their movements, making sure that his people did not give themselves away. The kids like to go out, they like to go on adventures. Now at 7 years old, just starting the academy, Naruto had dug a path, straight from the furthest forest straight towards the area beneath the fire country, which they had tend to explore a lot. It was a normal afternoon. The kids were doing what kids do. They were joking around, they were moving around. Unfortunately though, there was a group sent after them, given specific information, not told who the kids were, not told who exactly sent them, just been given a high amount of payment. One installation now and the other one after the completion, so they wanted to get this done. They came from 3 directions, fully cloaked and masked. They were fast, efficient. It seems that they were specially trained in these kind of arts. The 3 of them, Ren, Kosu, and Takama. They were told about the location, but they weren't given anything else. Mito picked up on them. She was more in tune with the nature and space around her than the other 2, as she noticed almost immediately. But despite being powerful, there was something that the children lacked. True understanding of what it means to be a ninja. They lacked the experience. This is what Minato has been working on since they became 4 years old. They might have a lot of strength, but controlling it was a different matter entirely. The 3 operatives were told to do the unexpected because these kids were not normal. Ren moved in with a poison, but not just any poison. It wasn't made to kill. Incapacitate though. It was a fine mist. The slightest breathing in would cause unstableness, would cause one to overexert themselves. It would slow their chakra pathways. It wasn't just any common poison. Getting your hands on this was very expensive, and they were given this by the benefactor that sent them in. Naruto, believing it to be nothing to harm him, he consumed it, literally. His mouth became a vacuum to clear the area. He gobbled it all up, as he thought that to be the efficient way to take care of it. However, it started to burn from the inside. His body started to slowly destroy it, but given the amount that he consumed, it wasn't going to be that easy. Mito was already calling out the numbers and where they were going, as they tried to capitalize on that. However, these 3 had the experience. Mito was fast, but they used that against her. They used the numbers to distract her. Kozu then moved in and hit her with a powerful lightning technique, specially aimed to paralyze her. Something was wrong though. She was still standing. She was hit at least 3 more times before she finally dropped. Menma, on the other hand, using his sister's knowledge that he was given, tried to pull them away from his siblings. He tried to use the terrain, he tried to use his advantage of being faster. However, Takama was an earth specialist. He trapped Menma. It was something easy for Menma to shatter though. Unfortunately though, a kunai was placed at Mito's throat. The children were durable, but they were also that, children. And seeing that sight, Menma grew fearful, so he stopped himself. Naruto, on the other hand, looking towards his sister, heard his brother trapped. He was starting to grow angry. Immediately, the 3 shinobis felt it. It was a thickness in the air. And then the sky started to change. Visible vibration started to spread as Naruto spat out all of the smoke, his insides seeming to adapt and grow. due to the chakra inside starting to adapt to all the harmful, strange toxin that was just entering his form. His cells already pushing everything out. What the hell? Gosu said. The place was just warm a moment ago and now the heavens started to crackle with lightning as Naruto got to his feet. Mito's body started to stabilize. What should have kept the adult down for a couple of hours or so? Her fingers started to twitch. And the moment her fingers started to twitch, she started to regain that feeling. The kunai was still at her throat. Naruto, on the other hand, he grew mad. This was not something that he was used to. This was something their parents were trying to protect them from. But seeing it though, stay away. Stay away from my family, he shouted. Mito used the distraction. She bit down on the arm. Due to the ninja believing that she wouldn't be able to move, as she bit into flesh, the kunai was dropped almost immediately, no longer possessing the pressure to hold it. As for Naruto, he moved forward. Ren decided to attack. Despite what he just saw, a child was a child. His action to get behind Naruto would be his greatest downfall as he arrived and chopped Naruto in the back of the neck. But he did not do what he expected. In that moment, Naruto, angered, rageful, he swung with all of his might. All of the control that he was taught, all of it seemed to leave him. His hand burst through flesh. Naruto froze, not expecting what just happened. To make things worse, as the blood splashed on his face, Naruto pulled his arm back as a huge gaping hole was in Ren. The realization hit Naruto deep. He wasn't knocked back, he wasn't unconscious, he was dead. There was a massive hole. He stood there absolutely shocked. Naruto stood there unable to believe it. Kosu, on the other hand, that was his brother. Yes, Ren was his brother. Rage took over as he grabbed his kunai, using his one good arm and launched himself. He was going to kill the brat. Mito, on the other hand, still having regained full mobility, she lashed her hand out. It was within that moment, the surge to protect Naruto. It happened on pure instinct alone. Just like her mother, chains erupted from her hands. But these weren't the golden adamantine chains. The material seemed even stronger, not to mention they were dark. A dark purple color, the complete opposite of her nature, which showed just how deadly they were, because it wasn't just chains. At the tip of it you had the spikes. The ninja wasn't fast enough as they ripped into his spine. You could hear the moment that they destroyed them. You could hear the moment that they rip upwards and tear through his chest. You could hear the moment that his life came to an end. Menma burst out of his prison, completely freed. He was trying to get to his siblings, but Takuma grabbed him from behind as he left himself open. Takuma was fearful, terrified. Yes, he was. Believing that he would be next. So he going to use this brat as a leverage. However, Menma was quick to respond. "Stand down," Takuma said, "or this brat dies." Two set of eyes gazed over towards him. Takuma nearly scrambled backwards. Menma lashed up and grabbed his arm. Takuma, though, went through on his threatened slice. Menma could feel it tear at his throat. However, it did not pierce deep within his skin. It did not draw enough blood to even affect his life. It only produced a red mark going across his neck. But Menma felt the pain, and once again child instincts kicked in. Believing the damage was worse than it should be, Menma hurled him with all of his might. completely releasing all the restraint on his strength. Takuma wasn't so lucky though. When he smashed into a boulder head first, the connection caused his head to just snap sideways. You could see the moment the life just drained out of his eyes. His neck snapped as his body was left there. It was disturbing. Earlier, when Naruto started to lose control and the ear started to shift, Minato had believed it to be a random coincidence, but when last did he see something random like this? So he made his way home, but they weren't there. He searched their favorite spots, but they weren't there. You see, Minato could not teleport to the children because he could not mark them. They could never be Jinchurikis. No seal could bind them for too long. It was the way their bodies adapted. Just like how the poison, Naruto's body adapted to remove it. Their body would adapt because the chakra inside of them did not go out. It saturated them and ensured that no other could mark them. So eventually the seals would be removed by their bodies simply consuming what it was and what it would be. So they could never be Jinchurikis. Something Minato learned after marking all three of them and learning that the seals were gone. His seals that should not be able to be removed, which made no sense. Minato, though, was the fastest man in the world, and he arrived to see all of his children, the three dead bodies. Minato stood there in shock. In the distance, you had a root agent, having told not to intervene no matter what, having watched the entire thing gone down with special binoculars to ensure that the girl did not pick up on them. Despite them all grown, Minato did not hesitate to scoop them all up to get them somewhere safe. They were in shock, unable to think, unable to process what just happened. Time skip. The house was quiet in a way that it usually wasn't. No crashes, no loud talking, no shaking wall. The place was just quiet. Kushina was making sure that she could help them through this. This wasn't something that they were ready for. Yes, back in the days, children were sent to war, but times were different now. And having them go through something like this so soon was something she never wanted to happen. Not in the slightest. This was truly weighing on the children. You could see it in their eyes, you could see it in their movements. I didn't mean to, he said. I was just trying to. I wanted to. Naruto was having a hard time digesting what had happened. As all of them were outside, right in front of the garden, Kushina and Minato had made sure that they talked to them for hours, for them to understand what it means with having powers like theirs, being as special as they are. They did not condemn them for what they did, making them understand that they fought for their family. But the three broke away eventually. Menma was trying to stand above it. He was trying to be the one that tell them that everything was fine. However, Mito could see it, so did Naruto, that he was shaking as well. Mom said that it's human to feel bad about it, despite them being the enemies. Knowing that we feel bad that we took someone's life means that we're human, said Mito. I wonder, does this feeling stop? When we grow up and become ninjas, when we become stronger, when we have to fight for the ones that we love, when we have to fight for each other. I don't think so, Menma said. I believe it just becomes easier, but the feeling is still there. The three children sat and discussed everything that happened. Yet it wasn't something that they could just skip over that easily. It wasn't something that they could just get over. It was gonna linger with them for a long, long time. Meanwhile, Minato was in a special room. Even after death, skilled Yamanakas could tear the memories out of a victim's body, out of their mind. The fresh memories. Minato got someone that he knew rather well to perform this horrific act, reaching in and ripping the memories out of the dead. Minato wasn't a violent person. He did what he did to protect the ones that he loved, but this was about his children. They were targeted. And this made him violent. This made him the most terrifying man that you could stand next to. As they learned some rather shocking things. These three perpetrators were told to expect extreme resistance from the 7 years old children. That meant whoever sent this hit, whoever was the benefactor. They were watching. They were aware. There was only a few people that could allow these people to move like this without being caught. One that came to mind was Orochimaru outside the village. But there was a few within the village as well. They had limited information about how to get this close, which wasn't good for anyone. He thanked Inoichi for what he had to do. This information would stay with them for now. Minato. He was going to see if news would break about his children, if the world would learn that they were special. The main reason why he never wanted anyone to find out about it, knowing that it would all be impactful at once. But he will trace that information back and find out who did this. Hours later, Danzo was fully aware. The root operative told him everything. The hole through the guy's stomach. The broken neck by a simple throw. The chains that ripped through another one. Danzo was intrigued. However, for now, he had to become invisible. He had to hide. Learning that Minato had 3 children that could do the impossible. 3 children that put the standard into the ground. But now he had to be careful because Minato was on the warpath, and anyone that was caught in his presence would be crushed. So Danzo had to be extremely careful. As Jiraiya was returning back to the village, Hiruzen was getting involved. Time skip. The academy. It was a fresh experience for them. They were stepping into the academy with the information and the knowledge that they've killed someone. They knew Sasuke Uchiha. They didn't visit him that often, but they knew him due to the close bonds that their mothers share. Yes, they knew him rather well. Naruto was fond of Itachi. He found Itachi to be cool, collective and calm. Mito even had a crush on him, despite knowing that he was around 6 years older. And he was a second person that Menma found inspiring. He was the second person that Menma found to be truly incredible. Well, the first was his father. In ninja regards, that is. If he's talking about personal lists, his family is number 1, of course. But in ninja regards, Menma had seen Itachi with the kunais and shurikens. The skills. He was just so awesome. He thought about it. As they were introduced to more children there, clan head children. You had Ino Yamanaka, you had Kiba Inozaka. Slowly but surely they start to befriend these individuals. However, after what they've done, it was hard to just readjust like that. But they were trying their best to move on. They were trying their best to adjust to everything. You had the lazy genius Shikamaru, who could see that they were trying to force it. Yes, he could see it rather well. But the 3 never talk about it. They never brought it up with their new friends. They never brought it up in the academy. They were children who had been through something. Their parents taught them well how to carry it, how to hide it, how to go on forward, how to keep on moving. And they did so rather well. They were children that were learning. Years passed by and they slowly grew. Their control became better, significantly better. However, Minato was having discussions. He didn't want the three of them to operate on the same level as a normal team because it wouldn't be right. Minato knew what they were capable of. He's taught them himself, and he knew that. That would just hold them back and overpower a team and make it unbalanced. Their growth had been significant. It seems like the tragedy had helped them to calm down and focus, especially for someone like Naruto who had seen the world as something just truly wonderful. He's seen the darker parts of shinobi life, which had helped him grow up. At 9 years old, Mito could fly. Yes, she could fly. It was the way she controlled the chakra in her cells. There was no amplification of wind, no lightning jutsu, nothing like that. She could just fly. By the outside viewers, yes. Menma reached speed that was near to Jonin level. That is while not going fully all out. Their progress was incredible. Naruto's strength had shown no damage around him. No longer destroying the training ground, no longer throwing the kunai through the wooden posts. The progress was real and it was fast. The instructors started to notice. Minato had a personal conversation with them to make sure they keep things on a level ground, to not spread information. Things were going well for the children though, but the academy proved, well, not helpful for their growth. Strength, speed, knowledge. Even in terms of academics, while they weren't your top class genius, they could hold their own in a test. And that was mostly because of Kushina, threatening to hit them with a ladle, making sure that they study. Despite how durable they were, nothing would ever get rid of that mother's fear that they had inside of them, knowing that she was a, well, dominating presence. Despite that role should be going to Minato. Well, Kushina was terrifying when she needed to be. However, balance was always needed. Balance was everywhere. Order, balance, law. Shinobis were born with power, but the scale was always there. Even if a shinobi was born with unlimited power, there would always be some drawback, sickness, death, something, or the opposite on the other side of the world. 1 in a million was extraordinary. 1 in a generation. For example, you had Hoshirama Senju, but then you had Madara Uchiha, and fate seemed to be destined to force them to fight and kill one another. Maybe it was outside interference, but even that outside interference was in the nature of law and balance and order. But 3 in 1 generation, 3. It put the balance off. It caused seismic shockwaves that the human mind could not understand. It was the way the world, the universe, it was the way fabric of reality worked. Due to the fact that their cells never stopped producing more power, the fact that they never stopped growing, it was starting to cause changes. Their very existence started to cause changes to everything around them. Volcano that had been dormant for 300 years started to awaken itself. Water sources that run reliable for a generation start to go dry. Fire within the eastern seaboard. Flames start to arrive on water. Yes, small changes could explain. It was them. The fundamentality of everything around them started to change. They did not know this, of course, but everything that gravitated around them was like a beacon spreading. Forces that should not be intertwined with their life were being pulled to them. Changes that should not be happening were happening around them, which would be very detrimental in some areas because they were still young, not prepared for the world. And this was one of them. Unknown lands, there was a girl. She had light blue hair, like extremely light. You could barely notice that it was blue, but it was. Her eyes, absent of any emotion, The place below her was on fire. Burning, buildings burning. Her eyes were not completely empty though. Her eyes showed something rather extraordinary. It was a Byakugan, a sacred gift that was granted to the Hyugas. But this girl was not exactly on the elemental nation, which was odd, which was strange, which was unprecedented. The world was much bigger though. The world was not right. The three children existence were causing fundamental shifts. The nature of everything was out of whack. This girl was being gravitated towards them for some reason. A part of some cataclysmic change. A change to something that would be good for them or bad. We have yet to understand. But the biggest one though was back at the elemental nation, where a goddess who had been sleeping for thousands of years slowly started to awake. A seal that was created to keep her in an endless sleep, an endless dream, started to malfunction. How? That shouldn't even be possible. But the seal started to malfunction, and slowly but surely, the world started reacting. Slowly but surely, travelers who were walking through an empty land suddenly found a young girl. This one had pure white hair though, seemingly unconscious. The problem was she was no older than 10 or 9 years old. As she lay there unconscious, the small child being picked up and brought back to their location. These people seemed to have kind hearts. A seal that had kept for thousands of years had cracked and leaked. What did this mean? Who was that child? And the world, for one thing though, was definitely not ready for what is to come. All sorts of craziness. But guys, let me end subscribe right here. If you want to see the next part, you already know what to do. Like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification to stay posted. But I'm out for now. Peace, guys.